Hey guys, Pixelpar here, and today I'm joined by Pete.
Hey!
And we're going to be taking a look at the new region that was revealed for Pokémon Sword and Pokémon Shield, and it was called Galar, I believe, is that right?
Yep, yeah, the Galar region.
Like the apple.
Oh, with an R.
Game Freak were kind enough to actually show us the entire map, or we presume is the entire map of the region, and there's a lot of stuff packed into it, and it kind of gives away the entire journey throughout the region.
Well, I don't know that I'd say it gives it away. Now that you've set up a cork board and lined up all the serial killer pins, I think we figured it out, but...
There's a lot of stuff packed into it, though.
Yeah, and there was definitely some secrets to be found for sure.
I think the first thing, we'll start off at the starting point. Your house, where you get your Pokemon, and where your new adventure will begin. And for that, we're going to be taking a look at the very bottom of the map here. And we'll zoom in so you can get a decent view of it. It's fairly obvious that this is a starting area because it's completely cut off from all the other sections of the map. You can't leave this place unless you go through this one specific tunnel. You're kind of locked into this area at the beginning by the looks of it, and the only way out's on the train, so I presume you'll have to fulfill some requirements before you can actually leave.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of like a packaged area for you to like learn some of the mechanics of the game in a place that's, you know, safe.
We've already seen the starting house and it was in the trailer, and it's got a green door, it's got this step, well, a set of steps that go right down, and the roof, which is immediately obvious, is this building here. Yeah,
absolutely.
So your journey literally starts at the very bottom of the map, as far down as you can go. And considering it's a starting area, it's only logical you'd get your starter Pokemon here too. We've already actually seen the lab you get them from. That was in the trailer too. It's kind of obvious it's a lab. You've got the microscope, you've got like the science lab screen with stats on it.
Yeah, also, if the giant collection of books wasn't enough to tip you off.
The other thing to note is like this massive kind of extension that's like a conservatory, I guess, which is pretty easy to see right here. So
yep,
that's probably where we're going to get our starters from.
Yeah, I think that's a solid bet. Like, you can see there's the Pokeball on the front door too, and it definitely seems like it's... I think that's a safe assumption.
You've played more Pokemon games than me. Does it always start in the lab? Is that how you get your Pokemon in every game?
Yeah, pretty much. There's rare exception, like I believe it's in the third generation of Pokemon. You like walk out of your town into the grass, and like the professor's getting attacked, and you pick a Pokemon up off the ground from his bag that got knocked over, but then you go back to the lab to learn everything with him. So it's like, no matter what, the game pretty much always begins with you go and meet some old guy and he hooks you up with your Pokemon. In Sun and Moon, it wasn't like a professor, it was one of the, like the battle, I forget what they're called, like the battle kahunas. They're like the leaders of their specific, you know, island region, and then like they're the ones who you battle, but they also gave you your Pokemon, so a bit of a breakdown of tradition there, but it's basically the same thing.
So there we go, that's the old man's house. So
yes,
you can actually see it in the trailer as well if you actually look to the right.
Right in the back, you can catch the glimpse of the Pokeball on the side of the conservatory.
So, you know, it's fairly obvious now. We know where you're going to start. We know where you're going to get your starter Pokemon from. And this journey is essentially, you're going to start here, go up. There's a house here with what looks like a kind of an arena for you to practice on. Yeah,
so we're kind of thinking that might be... you know, maybe your rival's house, maybe your ally character's house, and that'll probably be where your first battle takes place.
And then up here as well, you've got another house which has got exactly the same thing. So there's another pad, and both of them are in this closed-off area. So it's essentially the training area, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a safe assumption. And I feel like, I don't know, something tells me that the purple house is going to be the rival's house because it's like more isolated, and I think we have a close-up shot of that next, right? Right, and like you can see like the house is kind of overgrown. Like there's like a tree that looks like it's kind of taking over. It's like covered in all these vines and everything, and it looks like a little bit more sinister, I guess.
And there's the battle pad again. It all adds up. What essentially you'd need to start a Pokemon game if you've never played it before.
Yeah, and it seems like there's definitely potential there for that character to maybe be your rival.
Yeah, maybe. That's conveniently placed right at the start too. Okay, so I think we've kind of established the bottom areas where we're going to start our journey. It's where we're going to get our starters, it's where we're going to train, and then we're going to go through that little tunnel. Make our way through here, and it looks like this here is a train station we get off at. Which kind of leads us into a nice big open area to catch some starter Pokemon. An initial team building.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Pixel. I just want to correct you. Your starter Pokemon is the first Pokemon you receive. So,
well, your starter team.
Okay.
So besides that, the next step's really gyms, right?
Yeah.
So we know the game's got gyms. They said it. They showed us a gym, right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear that this is a grass gym. We got a nice big leaf on the front of the building. There's these red and blue emblems that look like they're most likely the symbol of the Pokemon League. That's an important icon to remember. It's going to be coming up a lot in the rest of this video.
Mm-hmm. Remember these.
Yeah.
It's worth remembering the structure because that's pretty much what most of the gyms look like throughout the game.
That big kind of like dome look with the big metal like legs.
I'm not sure why there's cones around this one. Maybe they're still building it. Who knows? So I think it's, looking at the overall map, it's pretty obvious it's going to be this one here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's got the same green top, and if you zoom in, like we did right here, you can see that there's the same green emblem that we saw previously.
Mm-hmm. So that's the leaf gym or the grass gym, whatever you want to call it.
The grass gym, Pixel. Don't embarrass me in front of the Pokemon fans.
So, besides the grass, there's usually water as well, right?
Yes.
And if you look at the opposite side of the map right here, you can see exactly the same type of building. It's set in the water. It's got a blue badge on the top.
Yep. So probably a safe bet to say that one's the water gym.
I'd say so. More interesting one is up here in amongst the forest. There seems to be a gym kind of surrounded by mushrooms and weird houses.
Yeah, and it's got that purple look. It's got a purple emblem on the top, so we're guessing that one's poison.
Yeah, I'd say that's the poison gym. And then the other one, which looks identical to all the other ones, but it's brown. So this is a rock gym, right? The ground gym, rock gym.
Yeah, I think it's probably ground because it's like a darker brown, and usually rock is like a more pale brown when it's represented by color. So if I had to guess, I'd say that's probably the ground gym.
And there's some Digletts right outside, so...
Yeah, I think that's probably a Dugtrio since it's the one big one and the two on the two smaller ones on the side. But yeah, so I mean, there being a Dugtrio emblem right near there also makes me think that it's probably a ground gym.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if there's going to be a new Diglett tunnel, like there was in the original game.
Maybe Dugtrio's a legendary.
He's been a legendary this whole time.
So those 4 gyms are pretty easy to spot.
Yeah, they're very easily identifiable, just like from glancing at the map. We kind of identified all these during our initial look over at it when we recorded the podcast, which you can check out here on YouTube.
Very true. There's one more that it does follow the same structure, but it's actually on top of a building, so it's less noticeable immediately.
And I think the obvious guess here, since it's in the kind of ice region, would be that it would be an ice gym. But if you take a look really closely at the top, it looks like there's kind of like a library or some other kind of thing that this is built on top of, and there's the psychic eye. So we're thinking there's a pretty good chance this is a psychic gym.
Yeah, why else would they have the psychic type symbol on?
Right.
Maybe it's a dual type ice psychic, but probably just psychic.
Yeah, there's never really been a dual type gym, so it's not to say that there couldn't be, but I don't know. That would definitely that would make me rethink all of these to some degree then.
Overall, that's all the gyms that follow that structure on the map. There's only 5, but that's kind of not the right amount for a Pokemon game. It's usually like 8.
Yep, always 8.
Always 8. So we had to snoop around trying to work out where were the rest of the gyms, and there's one right at the top. It doesn't look like the other gyms, but if you look at the badge, there's a circular badge with another circle inside, and it's used on every single gym. It's got one and it's white, so that's likely the normal type, or...
Yeah, I think that's pretty... again, like, because of that emblem, I think it's pretty clear that that's a gym, and if it's white, it's got to be normal.
So, what's that, 6? 2 more to go?
Yep.
If you look at this kind of cut of the video where...
We had, this is Shigeru Omori, who's the director of Pokemon Sword and Shield.
So yeah, he was talking about some of the in-game stuff, and in the background is actually part of the game. And up here is that symbol we told you to remember. Right,
so it seems like the big cathedral that we saw in the trailer is like, possibly a building that's owned by, this region's like Pokemon League, or, whatever you want to call it. And I think that there's probably going to be a gym battle inside that building.
Yeah, they've used that symbol on, we know it's on the gym. We know that that's the generic symbol for a gym, pretty much. So it just makes sense. And if you could only see it for a split second, but if you look at this scene as well, right here, you can see it on the building again.
That's number 7.
Yeah, that's probably number 7. And based on like the amount of steam coming from it, I'm going to go and say that's the fire one. It's a leap of faith, but...
Yeah, I think when they showed the trailer, there was all that kind of like steampunk machinations in the city and everything, and I think it being like an electric gym or a fire gym, like seems like a good call.
So that was kind of all the ones that were are definitely gyms, I'd say. That's 7 out of the 8. The last one is a really tricky one, and I'm not quite sure which the gym is. But in the center of the map, there's like this kingdom building, and if you actually look at it, there's one of those battle pads right outside here.
Sure.
And there's like a golden dragon on the top. So I'd say that possibly could be the electric gym.
Or the dragon gym.
Or the dragon gym. And on the opposite side of it, there's like this building here, and we'll just zoom in a second. You can see that actually does have one of those circular symbols on it. It's not as clear though.
Yeah. So, and this to me kind of looks reminiscent of like the fighting dojo from the original game. So I'm wondering if, maybe it's a gym, or maybe it's like a kind of unrelated like battle area where maybe you'll receive a fighting type or something like that.
Whichever one it is, I'm pretty sure there's a gym in there somewhere. So I'm going to go with the last gym's dead in the center.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last 2 we're not 100% sure on those locations, but I think in general, I'm pretty comfortable with this theory.
So after you've done 8 gyms, there's usually an end game, right?
Well, yeah. First, you have to take on the Elite Four.
So do you think the Elite Four are in this one?
I mean, it's tough to say, because I think even in Pokemon Sun and Moon, which was like very much like we're breaking conventions, we're trying to try new things, like there was still an Elite Four. Okay. So, yeah, like my knee-jerk reaction is to think that there's an Elite Four, but you have done some compelling research, which could point to something a little different.
So we know you start your journey at the very bottom of the map, and you progress through the middle to all these gyms, which we'll all mark down as little icons now. And it's only logical that you kind of end your journey at the very, very top. And luckily, there just happens to be a building that looks like it might just be that place.
Just happens to have that logo on it too?
Yeah, that gym logo.
Does look a little small to be an Elite Four location, but who's to say you Brits are very conservative?
In the trailer, we saw this scene where there's, a battle going on in a big arena.
Right.
And if you look at the top, it's kind of red.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of like that lining on the outside of the building that we saw.
Exactly, and based on all the other gyms that we've tracked down on the map, there's no red gym. There's no gym with red on the exterior. Right,
okay. Yeah. And I mean, it definitely looks like a Coliseum, and it's in the biggest city in on the map, so that would make sense.
We've also got a big screen there, so you could probably, spectators could watch the battle on the big screen. And interestingly, above the big screen, it's kind of like a logo with Olympic colours.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the red and the blue, which are joined together, which is convenient, seeing as all through the game we've seen the gyms represented as red and blue.
Obviously, also the logos to the game are red and blue.
Mm-hmm. And the colours of Britain are red and blue. But what's interesting is there's also a ring which is yellow and green.
Right, which doesn't seem to be represented anywhere else on the map?
No, so we know the map's they've used the UK as, England as a base for it and flipped upside down, but Ireland and stuff is actually missing. They've not included that. Maybe that could represent Ireland, and that might be another place you can visit.
Yeah, like maybe in the post-game.
Either way, people thought we were going to play football, and
Pixel's here to dash your hopes and dreams, football fans.
It's one of those things where I don't think that's what's happening, because if you look at his hand, he's wearing a glove. One glove, you don't wear a glove, a thumbless glove as well, to play football.
But you do use it to throw your Pokeball with finesse.
Exactly, and if you actually look directly in front of the character, you can see tucked over the top is a very recognizable symbol, which we've been seeing all through the game, and it usually represents a gym.
Boom!
So this might be just one of the... It might be like an Olympic Pokemon League, because he's wearing like a kit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be as simple as them just wanting to bring more pomp and circumstance to the, Elite Four, but I think... I don't know, I think what you're laying out here is interesting. I'm not convinced to say that, I buy the theory there about the Olympics bit, but they said they wanted to try something different. This is the one thing that's been the same in every Pokemon game, every single one. So, it's possible.
Either way, we definitely know there's some kind of team aspect to the final battle, I'd say. Or at least an important battle that's represented here.
Yeah, I think so.
You can actually see that the gym symbol is also on the character's sleeve. So even though his kit's red, he's got the red and blue symbol on his sleeve.
Right, and then you can see underneath his arms there's blue stripes as well. Mm-hmm. So it looks like it's representative of the entire league. So that could be a thing that every competitor's wearing. That could be a thing that he's wearing because he's representing his country. Who's to say?
Who knows? Either way, it was quite sneaky on the last scene. They didn't show any blue whatsoever apart from the glove. And then on the split shot, you do get to see a glimpse that the kit does have blue on it. So that's kind of it. That's, we know the starting point. We know at least 6 gyms for sure, and most likely 8 along the way. And we've got a kind of endpoint, or most likely endpoint. So I think that kind of rounds up the journey through the game. Yeah,
at least a lot of the major beats. And I think we got a slight margin of error here, but I think for the most part we have the progression of the map pretty figured out in this video.
The only other things are, there's some notable bits on the map, like a boat, which you could potentially use to get to either those little islands around or go to a different region. And of course there's the kind of chalk hillside drawing, which might represent kind of like a legendary or something.
Yeah, or maybe some of the lore of the region.
And the only other thing was this place with the only other kind of battle pad on the floor apart from the starting area, which, that might be the electric gym, it might be the dragon gym, it might just be a place you fight your rival, maybe.
It could also be like a battle tower situation, which was a thing in Gen 3, where it's like a place where you can go and battle NPCs that have higher level Pokemon, and the AI is tuned up, so they're expert trainers kind of thing. That was a really big post-game thing in some of the previous generations, so it could easily be something like that as well.
Okay, no, that sounds good. That's kind of it. It's worth noting that all the areas are joined up by this train line, which runs throughout the game.
Yeah, it seems like the rail system's going to be pretty significant to travel.
Mm-hmm. And this region at the very top is the equivalent of London. You can see Big Ben there, and you can see the...
Yeah, so I think that about wraps it up for this one. So if you want to let us know what you think about our theory about the Galar map, make sure you hit us up in the comments down below. And if you want to help us out, you can do us a solid by liking this video, subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, clicking that notification bell so that you know when our next Pokemon theory goes live. and sharing this video all over the web and letting people know that we've got this figured out, if you believe in our theory, and they can spoil the entire game for themselves just like we did.
Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, guys.
See you next time.